And we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to To Be Better podcast. This is not a podcast. This is us bullshitting.
Yeah, this is I foresee this one being more fun.
Yeah.
Lighthearted.
So we do have an email we want to read, but it's not a question. It's a statement.
I'm actually really excited about it.
I am too. I want to talk about our horrific, crappy weekend in the Keys.
It wasn't even a weekend. We were there for less than 24 hours.
Yes, we were. We spent more time driving there and back than we actually spent in the Keys.
Yeah. That's
wild.
It's very sad to think about. I had fun in the car.
Yeah.
A lot of good conversation and learning going on.
I am still going through it. I'm not as mucusy as I was, but I'm still, I can't breathe. Mm-hmm. So I'm breathing like I ran a marathon. I'm very congested. It's been like 3 weeks now. It's just not going away. I am, however, spitting up mucus, which is super nice because it's no longer just stuck there. Downside of that is that every time I start a coughing fit, I feel like I'm going to puke, which is a horrible scenario.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world. It's exciting.
I'm having fun.
Do you want to just jump into the whole Key West thing?
Yeah.
And we don't even need a disclaimer on this episode.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Just to make AJ happy, we should probably say that if you guys enjoy what we do, you should share our content. In the event that you find value, please like and subscribe. All of that fun stuff. Everything that every YouTube person has ever told you to do that right now.
Yeah, I feel like cheap saying it.
I do too. I'm like whoring myself out. Like,
right.
Please give me attention.
I have to start showing my ankles or something. No, they get to see the traps. That's enough.
Also, for those of you who have never sent us an email, we have put the email in the link or in the description of all of our videos now moving forward. So it will auto go in there. You guys will be able to find out how to contact us. And if you would like your emails read, do that. And we'll get into the Patreon thing in a little bit. I want to talk about Key West.
Before we do that, I want to clarify all emails are read anonymously.
Yes, unless you specifically say otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah. We do get some emails that are like, you can say whatever you want. And I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling frisky. Let's go.
Let's get it.
So I need to preface this entire thing by saying that I'm a Marriott guy. I have a Marriott Elite Rewards. I think I'm actually gold right now because we didn't travel a lot last year. But anytime I go on vacation, I always look at Marriott first. I get points, I get rewards. Sometimes I get free nights. Like I check Marriott before I check anything else, unless I'm going to Vegas, because then I know where I'm staying when I go to Vegas. Like I'm staying on the Strip in the Aria or the Cosmopolitan. Those are my hotels. I love them. But I do Marriott anytime we go anywhere, especially if it's just a night or two, because I know I'm going to get those points. And then when we go to Tennessee to see my family, or if we want to go to Georgia to see yours, we can stay extended nights in hotels up there and do other shit for free because of the points. I have never been so let down by a Marriott in my life. When we walked in, the first thing that they did was offered me alcohol. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm in Key West. It's a polite gesture. Would you like a free white sangria? No, I wouldn't.
Right,
I don't drink.
I'm driving as well.
Right. And I have to leave here still. We're going to go look at photography spots, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really pay it much mind. We went up to the hotel room. We paid for a room with a king bed because I'm a big guy and I kind of sprawl. Now it used to not be a thing, but now I'm a lot more comfortable sleeping diagonal on the bed and more on your side because you're over there, and that's a thing. And they gave us a room with 2 queen beds in it. And I walked downstairs and I was like, we ordered a king. She's like, we upgraded you. I'm like, 2 queen beds is not an upgrade. She's like, yeah, but you have a view now. And I was like, king bed.
Right.
So it took them like 30 minutes to get, well, that's exaggeration. It was probably like 10 or 15 minutes for them to finally get our room figured out.
Yeah.
We get the new room, we go up there, we get all of our stuff situated, and then we leave, we come back. And by the time we got back at it couldn't have been later than 7 o'clock.
The sun just set.
Yeah. So it had to have been like 6:30. Everyone in the everybody that was in the hotel that was not working was drunk.
Oh yeah.
Except for the children that were there. The parents were drunk, other adults were drunk, everyone was shit-faced.
Yeah.
We went to our room, found out that our sink didn't work. And in order to get the sink, remedied, we would have had to move to another room. And at that point, we had already been derobed and comfortable and so we don't have a running proper sink.
Right. And I was like, it's kind of late for that anyways. I'm not trying to have a commotion of switching our rooms again.
Right.
Getting nasty glares from the hotel people.
So we brushed our teeth, spitting the toothpaste in the toilet and totally just did the thing to make it work. The TV remote was broken. So this is obviously not it, but this entire piece was open So I'm trying to use the remote with it all busted open. I was able to actually fix the remote, but the TV remote was broken. We went downstairs to get
a cheese plate.
And
so good.
I noticed in the elevator how disgusting the floor was, and you were like, "It smells like alcohol in here." I'm like, and I looked down because it's been spilled all over the floor, the hallway, near the elevator, alcohol spilt on the floor. In the elevator, spilt on the floor. First floor, spilt on the floor. Everywhere except for where we went near the front desk was disgusting. The next morning when we got up to leave, we got up early. We were going to go do photos. We decided we were going to check out early. Got in the elevator. It was 10 times worse than it was last night or the night before. The floor outside of the elevator was worse than it was the night before.
It was sticky.
Yeah,
you could feel
hear
your
it.
shoes.
Yeah, it was like a movie theater after teenagers had been in there. Ugh. And so needless to say, we had all of our camera gear, which had all of our other stuff in it. We just went ahead and checked out a day and a half early and left the keys at 6:30, 7 o'clock the next morning, even though we were supposed to be there until today. We were supposed to be there until today. We should be driving home right now.
Yep.
Excuse me. I'm going to have to get a drink in a second. So they comped the room for the night that we checked out. Obviously, we got that refunded because we didn't stay. So it ended up saving us like $480 for the one night that we didn't get to enjoy. While we were there driving around looking for photography spots, we drove near the mile marker 0 thing and kind of went down into that area because I wanted to see it. And it dawned on me that the Keys is nothing more than a very expensive place to live in a party town. Yeah. Everybody that goes to the Keys goes there to get drunk and be belligerent and do the thing. And like, I didn't want to do that. So we didn't do any of the Keys touristy shit. We then started looking for photography spots, state parks, and did all that stuff that night. At about 10 o'clock at night, a fight broke out in the hallway between women screaming and yelling at each other. And then it continued again at 11:30, then at 1, and then at 3. The people that were upstairs from us must have been in a marching band because of the way they were stomping through the hotel all night long.
Yeah.
I will never in my life go back to the Keys ever again. And like, I wanted to experience Bourbon Street in New Orleans just to experience it. But after experiencing the Keys and the drunk debauchery, it's just not for me. I would rather be in a small town like Blue Ridge, Georgia, that's got like 2 little strip malls and tons of hiking and cabins and less people. That just does it for me. So now, moving forward, if we vacation inside the state, St. Augustine is still on the menu because there's a lot of history there for photos and ghost tours and cheesy shit that's not all about getting drunk.
I would love to do a ghost tour.
Have you never done one there?
I have. When I was younger, my family went to St. Augustine. I was probably like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Future note.
They're ghost tours, but they're really just like history tours because they walk you around and tell you about all the history of St. Augustine.
It's all a gimmick.
The thousands and thousands of people who've died there with wars over the years. The lighthouse there is supposed to be haunted. That was on Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
But that's a hell of a walk up them steps. Yeah.
We can go up the steps.
Yeah, you can go all the way to the top of the light tower.
I want to go in the lighthouse. I'm so excited. I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go in the lighthouse at St. Augustine. So St. Augustine is still on the list. If we do St. Augustine, because of where you can stay in St. Augustine, you can do Big Talbot Island, you can do Small Talbot Island, and then work your way down A1A. There is a lot of photography spots working down the East Coast that are huge for Florida. The only redeeming quality of everything in the Keys is that the water there is actually blue instead of the dark green grossness that we have in the Gulf of Mexico.
The water was really pretty.
That was it. So
I think I saw a dolphin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to give myself that win because that was the one thing I really wanted to see while we were there.
That's funny.
And I saw like a spray up, but like it wasn't the ocean spray. It was like a puff upwards. And I was like, oh, a dolphin.
Yep.
I'm just going to live in that delusion for a minute.
So Friday night before we left, we actually did a live stream on Patreon. For those of you who follow us here, if you want more in-depth content, Patreon is the way to go. It is a subscriber service, but we have a small community there.
And it's more one-on-one attention too.
Yeah. Well, when we do live streams, we know everybody that's in the live stream. Like we're having in-depth conversations with people. We've talked about all kinds of crazy shit on there and it's enjoyable.
Right.
But while we were doing the live stream Sunday night, we found that we are number 26 on the US charts for relationship advice on our podcast on Apple, which blows my mind because episode 7 just released today.
Right. That's 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And we're number 26.
26.
That's crazy.
When we break top 10, when we break the top 10 on relationship advice on Apple, I want to do something stupid, like some kind of giveaway, because that'll be a big moment for us. Like, We're less than 2 months into a podcast.
Right.
You figure one podcast a week. We're at episode 7. We haven't even hit the 2-month mark, and we've already in the top 30. Top 10. We're gonna have to do something. Whether it's like a gimmick where we give away clothing, or we Visa gift card or something stupid just to win. I don't know how we'll do that yet, but I think that would be dope.
Okay.
What was that happiness about over there? Because I saw you shimmy over your phone.
Oh, I was gonna search something, but I got distracted because you started talking about a giveaway.
No, were you gonna search the other stats that we got?
Probably.
Okay. Because we got some other numbers too, but none of them really matter as much to me because it's not. We're in America, so it's a bigger.
I think it's dope that we're in like top 10 in other countries.
Right, but when you look at the population of those countries,
Yeah.
If you took all of Canada's population and put it together, it's the size of California. If you take Iceland and put it together, it's the size of Kansas. So my watch did that. I am so into that I got a new Android phone for like my personal line, and I put that as my ringtone.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's funny. All right, what was I doing? I was going to open this up so that I can read some comments that I got on TikTok while we were gone. So AJ has gotten very good about creating clips and shorts for us to steal off of YouTube to post to TikTok so that we can cross promote without having to create content.
Right.
There's another email.
Yeah, that's what just popped up on my iPad.
I love it. We made a video asking for people to send us emails, and within 24 hours, we've received more than 20 emails.
It's been less than 24 hours. We made that post last night at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's almost 30 at this point.
That's crazy.
So if you guys want some unbiased advice on a situation in your life.
Yeah, send us the email. Send us the email.
From what we've been told, we really help people.
Yeah. We're going to get into that because that email that we're going to read at the end of this is on point.
So even if this is like your last ditch effort, wouldn't you want to try that last ditch effort and reach out?
Yeah. I'm going to let you guys stare at my wife's beautiful face for a minute while I go get a drink.
He said I'm beautiful.
You want, before I read these TikToks, comments, fucking people are so stupid. Do we want to talk about the book at all?
The book?
I
do not have it next to me, no.
Okay. I was just checking because we've both become a fan of Laura Doyle.
Yeah.
So in the event that if anybody's listening knows her, you should tell her to listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
She has her own. So I can't imagine she'd be super into ours, but it'd be kind of cool to collaborate.
I think so highly of that woman. So we got the Audible. Audible. That is so hard for me. We got the audiobook. I'm just going to call it that.
Okay.
And I do not retain when I hear things.
Right.
That's a 1 hour audiobook. I am 5 hours into it trying to retain the information. So you bought me the book.
Yeah, physical copy.
And because I listened to the audiobook so many times, I did retain bits and pieces of things. So I was like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. So I started reading her book, and like one of the first pages, she said, well, I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I bought it instantly.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even say you should try reading this book. She said she read it. I'm going to read it.
That's funny. So we bought 2 Audible versions of her book, a physical copy of her book,
Another one.
the Audible version of Empowered Woman, a physical copy of Empowered Woman, and then the Surrendered Single. So we've bought 5 of her books. 3 of her books, but we've bought them so many times now that we've essentially purchased 5 things from her. I feel like if nothing else, that just shows that we genuinely like her stuff, but you should be on the podcast, Laura Doyle.
I think that also shows how committed we are to self-growth.
Right. Well, and it is beneficial. Like, so I can't retain things when I read.
Right.
Like, even when I read the Bible, I have a hard time retaining. And like, some of it's ADD because like I'll start reading and I'll go through different scenarios in my head. But I'll still be reading, and I know that I'm reading because I'm still like, now I'm like, three pages past, and I'm like,
but you're thinking,
I don't know what just happened in those 3 pages, and I have to go back to the last thing I remembered.
That is exactly what happens to me when I listen to something.
Right. So that's my reading experience, but I can hear something once and retain it. So when we were driving to the Keys, I made you read the book out loud. So
you didn't make me, I offered.
No, I made you. I was like, you do this or you'll walk home. You did offer.
I did.
Because you know that I struggle to retain when I read.
Right.
So that's why you read the emails, because when I read the emails, I struggle to correlate the two. So it was very nice because I got to hear your voice the entire time we were driving and it was just polite conversation. And you would read something and be like, oh, that's a really good point. And then we would discuss it. It was like having a podcast in the car.
I had a lot of fun doing that.
I enjoyed it. We also we broke our record for alligators on the way back. We hit the scenic loop trail in the Everglades and we saw 78 alligators. Yep.
18 more gators.
Yeah, it's wild.
I got excited every single time.
You know, if we were to go down there in the summertime, you'd see a lot more because they'd just be laying on the bank sunbathing.
I want to see hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we were gone, AJ made a clip from our episode 7, and it was a thing about body counts. And I posted the thing about body counts, or I made a TikTok talking about the change of the whole thing. Right. And somebody got on there.
Well, I want to clarify. It was a change of opinion, the way that you viewed body counts.
Right. And it absolutely was, because I'm nothing in that I know is set in stone besides my faith. Right. Like anything beyond that, my opinion could be changed if you bring me enough data that I can digest, weigh my opinion. My mind might be swayed. Right. It can happen. Facts change my opinion. So I made a video saying that somebody brought some thoughts to my head, and we talked about it, and it made me think about it and changed my opinion. And the guy wrote, his opinion changed based off of his feeling about himself based off of someone else. Body counts matter to you, bro. She will be just fine. To which, of course, I had to get on there and respond to him, because heaven forbid I have my opinion changed by data, right, or by somebody else's thought process that made me process my information better. This comment is everything that is wrong with society right now. You should want to change your opinion. You should want to take accountability for every wrongdoing you have ever done, every wrong thought, everything that you have ever done that has held you back from being a better version of you. You should want to improve on that. He read that like it's some sort of fucking insult to me. Oop, that's the second F-bomb. Trying really not to do that. Trying not to do that, and I'm trying not to say I want to be better. I want my thought process questioned from a point of intelligence. I don't want somebody to just go, well, you're wrong and you're dumb, because it's not going to change my mind. I want data. I want statistics. I want things that are going to make me sit back and go, okay, wait a minute, maybe what I said was harsh. You know, and we've been getting a lot of that too, because in that same video, I was getting a lot of people saying, well, what if they were sexually abused? And what if this? And what if that? And what if this? And what if that? And it's never part of the argument. It's never part of the conversation. Because
it's always a I got you moment.
Right. Well, in that specific video, the girl that we were talking about who had that scenario was bragging about it.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing there that would have indicated that there was an abuse or anything other than the fact that she liked to have sex. And that was the discussion we were having. And instead of simply having that discussion, everybody went to the abuse, the trauma, the SA, and all of that shit. To which then made me think about the fact that most of the people who create or who commit SAs, acts of violence,
or abuse themselves,
or grape, and I have to use that term for the algorithm, were also abused. So by negating the fact that these people have done the actions that they're doing because of their trauma would negate other people from harming other people because they have trauma. And nobody wants to have that discussion. Everybody wants to shun away from that conversation because now you got to take accountability for your actions.
Right.
Oh.
I just want to reiterate your point, just in case somebody didn't understand. So what you're saying is people who were SA'd in their childhood and then grow up to commit SA to somebody else, if we're saying, well, she has sex with 300 dudes because she was abused, negates the fact that she is harming herself. We then have to look at, okay, well, if we're going to negate that because of trauma, well, the person who just committed SA on that person is traumatized from somebody else doing it to them.
So we have to just excuse it.
Right.
That's the mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to excuse their bad behavior because the same exact bad behavior was committed to them.
Right. And I understand that a lot of the people that were making those comments were victims of abuse.
Right.
Because those are the ones who were, what about me? I had this action and I did it because of XYZ.
It's still destructive.
It's still destructive.
It does not excuse the destructive thing you're doing to yourself.
Right.
And if we're going to say alcoholism is a form of substance abuse, that's a detrimental thing and people can be addicted to that.
Right.
Sex addicts, if you become addicted to sex after an SA, that's an addiction.
It is.
Addictions harm you.
Yep. And we had a couple people that were like I'm a big fan of your podcast. I love your content. I have a high body count because of XYZ, but I'm atoning for it. I'm trying to be better. And like, we have people that are taking the accountability. Like, I did this because of that. How does that make me look? And I'm like, you took accountability for it. You're not on the internet bragging that you've slept with 300 people in your early 20s and like you think it's an okay scenario. You know that your situation is because of a trauma response and you stopped.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the argument. This chick is online bragging about her body count and how it's some amazing thing because she's had almost 300 willies in her. You're not doing that on the internet. So the conversation where people feel like they're being attacked, because that's really what it comes down to. They're triggered because they feel like I'm attacking their body count when I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking about a specific person, but because this conversation is vague, they want to jump in and be like, well, what about me?
I think that all derives from a form of guilt.
Yeah.
Like, they recognize what they're doing is wrong. If the shoe fits.
Lace that bitch up and wear it.
Right.
Get them, babe. The TikTok thing is getting to the point with me that like I know that we have to continue on TikTok because that's how we built our platform and it's how we're continuing to grow this. It's even how we're getting the emails that we're getting. I am so over the dumb shit on TikTok that I'm not even giving it my time anymore. And I know that we've talked about this in the past, that we gave all of the nonsense that we have.
It's another email.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah. She gave us permission to read it. Oh, she just asked to be a guest.
She said that she reviews a lot of podcasts.
Yep.
And she really thinks that we came out of the gate strong. That's dope.
Yep. Yes. We're going to have to, AJ, when you edit this, you really need to figure out how to make the live calls happen. You really need to move to Florida to figure out how to do all this shit because I don't have it in me to do it. I don't even remember where I was talking. I'm so glad that she emailed back while we were recording because I was kind of hesitant to read her email.
We're just talking about how much we have a disdain for TikTok.
Right. Oh, we've said in previous videos that I've given all this. And for those of you who can't see, I'm actually tapping my Bible. I'm giving all this to God. I'm not holding on to any of the nonsense that we read, all of the cheating, the horrible spouses, and all the stuff that was weighing on us because we were taking that in.
We're
not doing that anymore. So like even in the negative comments on TikTok, for the most part, if people calling us names and shit doesn't faze me anymore. It does not bother me. It's the stupid comments like that from people who think that they're going to be like, oh, look at this guy. You're making yourself look like a moron. That gets to me. Stupidity gets to me. I want personal growth. If you don't want personal growth, don't comment on people's pages. Like, you're not contributing anything to the conversation.
Right.
All you're doing is making yourself look like an ass. And you're blowing people's notifications up. I mean, you are helping on actually, I take everything back I said. You comment all you want because you are keeping us relevant in the algorithm. I'm just not going to respond to a lot of it. You cleared your throat like you were about to say something. You say it.
Oh, I wanted that airplane analogy that I made earlier.
Get it.
I feel like that just ties into what we're talking about because you're talking about accountability.
Yeah.
So my mentor for my tattoo apprenticeship went to a seminar, learned a bunch of stuff. And he was talking about how it does not matter how expensive your tattoo machine is. It is as good as you are as an artist.
Right.
He said, I could buy a $20 tattoo machine and I can still produce the same work that I do now with a $1,300 one. And that took me on the whole path of thinking like, yeah, well, just because you have a car doesn't mean you know how to drive.
Right.
And then that took me to a whole road of self-accountability. When a plane crashes, the first thing we do is look at the pilot. We scrutinize everything that they did. What could you have done wrong to cause this to happen?
Right.
You are the pilot of your own life. There are external factors that come in. Every decision that you make is on you. So if something crashes and burns in your life, you as the pilot have to look at what you could have done to cause that to happen.
Right.
I just thought that was a really good analogy, and that's something people could understand and digest.
Yeah. And there will still be people in the comments going, well, what about this? And what about that? And that doesn't apply to this scenario. Blah, 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 blah.
It applies to every scenario.
It really does.
It really does.
When it comes down to it, your life is yours.
And I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm saying that as a great victim.
Yeah.
I can look back and pinpoint if I wasn't here at this time with alcohol involved, it would have never happened.
Right.
It's all choices that we make. I'm getting heated. We should move on.
Okay.
Next comment.
Yeah, because I have one more. There was actually another comment that was made too that people have made over and over and over again about what you were just talking about. And it was that instead of me being on TikTok saying that women need to be protected, I should get on TikTok and tell men to be better men. It's not like I haven't been doing that the entire time I've been on TikTok or on our podcast making videos about how to be a gentleman. Because I genuinely want people to be better.
Right. It's almost like we have a podcast called To Be Better.
Wild. With a subtitle that says always forward or like a caption line, right? But I have had those arguments with those people. Why is it my responsibility to raise your children? And then I want to hit them with statistics. Because statistics say that men who grow up in single mother households are more likely to grape, more likely to be abusive, more likely to cheat, more likely to do all the foul shit that they do because a man is not present. I'm raising my children. I'm raising a young man. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that that young man grows up a gentleman. It's not on me to make sure that you raise your kids the way that you're supposed to raise your kids. That's your job. And every time I say that, they want to be like, oh, well, now it's the single mother's fault and blah, 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 blah. Well, statistically, yeah, that's exactly what the statistics say. That's not me saying that. That's interview after interview after interview, poll after poll after poll, statistics being done to show that this mathematically is the way it is. You can argue with me all you want. You can be mad at me all you want. You can feel attacked. You can be triggered. You can be offended, which good for you. I don't care. The math is the math. The statistics are the statistics. That's not me making this shit up. It's documented.
And before people can start going off in the comments and say, well, single moms are trying their best and this and that. I was a single mom. That shit's hard. I was constantly in emotional distress. I was constantly in fight or flight. I was constantly irritated, depressed, frustrated. There were points where I was positive. When I was a single mom, both of my kids were still in diapers. And they were climbing and throwing things and screaming and crying and yelling. So working 80 hours a week, dedicating one day to a deep clean while trying to maintain 2 children who aren't going to kill themselves. I was not always patient. I was not always soft, and working 80 hours a week as a single parent. They're in daycare. They're with their grandma. They're with whoever can watch them at that point. They got to see me for 45 minutes in the morning and 3 hours at night.
Yeah.
I'm not raising my children.
No, you're not. Other people are.
As a single mother working, trying to maintain, you are not raising your child. So you don't know what they're seeing at school, what their friends are telling them. So no, it's not always on the moms for raising bad children, but that's something to think about when those statistics come into play. It's not your fault because you're not really parenting in their lives.
Right. And that comes down to, and this is going to trigger a whole lot of people, you need to be more selective with who you sleep with.
Right.
I mean, it's what it comes down to. If you think that you're going to breed with somebody, you need to know who they are and the type of person they are and if they're going to be there. And like, you got lucky.
I did. I got really fucking lucky.
Because the guy that you actually had those babies with is a really good dad when it comes to the parenting side of things. There are things that I disagree with, and they're minor.
Yeah.
You know, on a grand scale of things, they're minor. So your kids now have bonus parents involved, and like they're in a very good place, and so are you now. But that wasn't the case. My childhood wasn't like that.
Right.
I know a lot of single mothers who are doing everything that they can to just try to stay afloat while raising kids. But had they made a better selective choice with the man that they decided to breed with, that wouldn't be a thing. And you can get mad about it all you want, but the fact of the matter is you made the decision to have the child. You decided to lay down. So did they. It could have been a night of fun. That should have just been a night of fun. That's now an 18-year commitment. It doesn't change the fact that you made the choice to do what you did.
Yeah.
It's also why I'm such a men need to be present in their kids' lives. If you can co-parent instead of being nasty and shitty towards the person, because most men genuinely want to be in their kids' lives. They don't want to be in your life. They want to be in their kids' lives. And when women can separate the two and can co-parent and be civil, it changes the dynamic between the kids and the father. And it gives the kids a better opportunity. And it could also make it so that the kids can see their dad a lot more, because if you have to pick up an extra shift, and you're now working a 50-hour work week instead of a 35-hour work week, that extra 15 hours could be spent with the dad instead of in daycare or at grandma's. And you can exist together.
Yeah. Before you move on, I want to touch on that point where you said that he wants to be in their life, not your life.
Right.
That is a very important distinction to make. The more peaceful it is for your children, the better life that they are going to have.
Yep.
You cannot muddy it with the fact that you are no longer with their father. And I was thinking, my kids have a step-parent, a stepmom in their life. And a lot of women get super salty about that shit. Like, that man is still their man and they can be mad, which you can't.
Right.
When you are separated, and if you made the choice to end the relationship, you as the woman decide to leave him, you cannot be upset when he gets with another woman. That is no longer your place.
Right.
You can't be pissy about it. And she texted me the other morning. It was Sunday. I'm working Sundays now, so I can't have the kids Sundays.
Right.
And she was like, I'm making cinnamon rolls for the kids, and they're super excited. In that moment, I had a choice to either be pissy about the fact that she's there making cinnamon rolls for the kids on Sundays, and I can't because I have to work. Or I can be like, you know what? That's super dope. And I was super supportive of it. I'm like, I'm really glad that she had a moment. She was like, my mom used to do this for me, and now I get to do it for your kids. That was a really good moment for her. And I was like, I love that for you. She never thought she was going to be a mom. She never thought she was going to be a step parent.
Right.
And now here she is stepping into the role, and she's doing it fantastically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am so blessed that woman walked into my kids' lives. Yeah. I would trust her with anything when it came to the children.
Yeah, we're both grateful. I am too. Like, there's been a lot of things. This has been a roller coaster in that whole scenario, but I got her a business line cell phone so that when she has the kids and you're working or you're here or whatever the case may be, you always have contact with her. We've discussed potentially buying her a car. Like, there are things that we want to do above and beyond what's necessary to make their life easier, because it's going to make the kids' life easier, kids' lives easier, by proxy making our lives easier. And it all comes down to us just being fucking civil with each other. That was an intentional F-bomb. I'm sorry, Mom, but that needed to drive that point.
Right.
It is not hard to simply be civil. It's it. And I get that there are people out there that are like, well, it's not my day. I got plans, and they don't want to be a part of their kids' lives. There are people out there that do that, but for the most part, I genuinely don't believe that that's the vast majority of men and women.
Right. When there's separation, and if the dad is still present and he wants to be in their lives, let him do it. Yeah. When you want to be snarky and mean and manipulative and just vindictive and angry because you guys are no longer together, not only are you making your life miserable, you're making his life miserable, and you're making those children's lives miserable.
And you two will end up hating each other.
Yes. And that's when bad talking the other parent comes in, and the kids get to hear that. That was super detrimental for me as a child. Hearing one parent badmouth the other. As a kid, my parents are superheroes.
Yeah.
You know, adult shit should not affect children.
Right.
And in the book that we're reading, The Empowered Wife, I believe it was, she said... Oh, I'm blanking now.
Paraphrase it, because I'll remember it.
I don't even remember what it was.
Oh.
Totally derailed. Oh. She said that women have the influence of pretty much what the climate of the relationship will be.
Yeah, and of the house.
Right. So be the bigger person.
Yep.
If that's how you are interpreting this as being the bigger person in the relationship, do it.
And there's going to be comments right now going, well, why do I always have to be the bigger person?
Because some people just can't handle being the bigger person.
Right.
And that speaks volumes on them. But the fact that you want to step up and make things right speaks volumes on who you are as a person.
Right.
I don't care how many times I have to step up and be the bigger person. That shows my character. That shows that I am willing to do anything it takes to make things right in my eyes.
And in turn, you're going to be happy.
Right.
So by you choosing to be the bigger person, you are essentially choosing happiness.
Right.
And all of those things, when you do it long enough, is going to change the narrative of the way the conversations go. So if you're being the bigger person for the next 6 months, and dude finally let his guard down, he's like, okay, she's not being a bitch to me anymore. Like, she's no longer see you next Tuesday, Chris. Now she's just Chris. And you call and go, hey, I need you to da-da-da-da-da. He'd be like, yeah, okay. And this would be the end of it. You're going to hang up the phone and be like, wow, that was easy. Like, I was expecting there to be like conflict. There was no conflict. He just agreed to whatever. Like, it's because you've taken the high road for so long that the energy between the two of you and the dynamic between the two of you is no longer in a shitty scenario. He's no longer defending himself. He no longer feels like you're attacking him or that you're trying to get one over on him. A lot of that shit goes a long way, and people don't realize that it's not just the one-time scenario. It's over and over and over and over again. And when you are dealing with somebody and every time you talk to them, you feel like John Wick with a $7 million contract on you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to treat every single scenario like your fucking life is under threat. It's a problem. You want to hit him with that John Wick scenario?
So, like he said, we were in the car for like 10 hours.
Combined?
Yeah.
It was actually closer to 13 because of the Everglades trip.
So 13 hours.
My tailbone feels bruised from sitting in the car so long. Not
Yeah.
bruised, but like sore. I need a butt pillow for the car.
So I would say about the whole time we were reading an audiobook. I was reading or you were listening to an audiobook. So it was 13 hours of learning. And when I was reading out loud to you, I came across this part in the book and I just said out loud, John Wick.
Okay, before you read that, I'm going to plug the book so that everybody knows that we're not just trying to give away information from her book. This is The Surrendered Wife by Laura Doyle. Her book is amazing. I recommend that you buy it on Amazon. It's like $12. It's a very short read. There's quizzes in it. If you audible it, it's only an hour. There is more gold in that book than probably the last 20 books that I've read. I have taken notes out of that book. We're now highlighting that book, making notes on pages in that book. Buy the book.
Yeah.
Now you can read your paragraph. I feel like we're not
All right.
doing copyright shit at that point.
So she said, women feel the need to control because they fear that if they don't take matters into their own hands, their needs will go unmet. It is possible that your husband is thoughtless or inept, but until you give him your complete trust over a sustained period of time, you can't be sure. Chances are he is a great guy who spends most of his time defending himself against your criticism. Until you stop trying to run his life, you will never know what it's truly like to be married to your husband. And I finished that, and I highlighted something, and I just said John Wick.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
So I've never seen the John Wick series. We watched the first one like a week ago, and we watched the second one like 2 or 3 days ago.
And the third one yesterday.
We did watch the third one yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good. So that was the freshest thing in my mind to make a analogy or a metaphor out of.
Right.
So I highlighted, chances are he is a great guy who spends most of his time defending himself against your criticism. And the only scene I could think of was in John Wick 2, when they put out that $7 million contract. He is running from place to place to place to place. And after one fight for his life, he's immediately in another fight for his life.
Over and over again. It's the entire movie.
And over, yeah. And he's limping, he's bleeding, he is exhausted. Everybody is a threat at this point.
Yep.
That is how your man feels day in and day out. When you constantly criticize him, put him down, tell him that his ideas don't make sense, make him feel stupid for the things that he says out loud. He's John Wick.
Yeah. And overall lack of respect.
Right.
And the craziness in all of that is that feeling is not out in public for the man. It's at home. And then women wonder why the man wants to go straight to video games, or the man wants to go to the bar or go to his friend's house after work and not spend time at home. You have to look at the entire scenario. We get emails constantly where people are just ripping their partner apart, and there's absolutely nothing in the email about what they have done.
No self-accountability.
Right. And if they were to put in the email the things that they have done, and we're able to talk about, here's where the problem is, we can help both of you. You can't make somebody change. You can only work on yourself. And the better you are, the better your partner is going to be. It may take 3 weeks or 3 months for that change to happen, but that change will happen. You guys don't marry somebody that's a piece of shit unless you're just a piece of shit human being. And then you're just marrying your equal.
If you married a piece of shit man, like if you genuinely think he's a piece of shit man, you made the choice to marry him.
Right.
You are the one who decided, yeah, let's plan a wedding. You bought the dress. You probably said the vows. You said I do. You put that ring on your finger.
Yep.
That is a choice that you made.
But realistically, how many people actually get married to a man that is like that? You know what you're marrying. You're not going to say I do for the rest of my life to somebody that you believe is a piece of shit.
So we read an email of a woman whose husband called her beluga whale.
The food is approaching.
Yeah.
We got an email where a woman
Yes.
said her husband called her a beluga whale.
So there were multiple red flags before she married him.
Yeah.
And then she married him. And then DV started happening.
Yep.
That's the kind of woman who would marry a piece of shit man.
Right. But
the one who doesn't have self-worth or self-respect or don't think that they deserve any better will take what they can get and marry into a verbally abusive situation, a physically abusive situation because they crave love.
Right. I'm willing to bet that's less than 10% of people who get married.
I'm not going to put a wager on that.
No?
I don't know what the statistics of that is, but I can guarantee it happens.
Women will not marry down.
No. Majority of women won't know.
Most of the time, they're going to marry up. They're going to find a man that's slightly offer something or provide something for them that they can't get themselves. So they're marrying up. Men will marry the woman who makes them happy. Then brings them peace, is not disrespectful, loves them the way that they feel they need to be loved, etc.
A good example of that is you, a multiple business owner, married me, who at the time was just a body piercer.
Yeah. Our dynamic is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to get awes and to, oh, look at the way they look at each other and all the shit that we hear all the time. Like,
it's genuine.
It is genuine. I don't have discourse in my life. We don't have negativity. When we have a problem, it is resolved fucking quick.
Yeah.
Like we don't do that. And I think that peace and the tranquility that comes with all of that is the reason why this progressed as fast as it did for us. I couldn't imagine living like John Wick, especially in my household. So if you're in a situation, and I don't remember why we got to that point, but if you were in a situation where you are that woman that's making that man feel like he always has to defend himself and is not respected and is always having those problems, don't send us an email and blame your man about all the problems that you're having, because I guarantee you that you're part of the problem too.
We even had one woman email us. We read her email on the podcast. She emailed us back and she was like, wow, I made my husband look like a piece of shit.
Yep.
And she listed all of the amazing things that he does for her. And I was actually pretty salty about it.
Yeah.
Like, you made it sound like you married an abusive piece of shit man.
Yep.
When in all reality, that's just the way that you view him because of pent up emotions that you don't know how to communicate.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yep. That, we've learned a lot from reading those books. All right, I'm going to get into the next comment because I would like to get into the email so we can eat our food while it's still hot.
Okay.
The other comment that I got on TikTok was, this was in regards to the door thing. There's a clip of it as part of the podcast on YouTube where I've actually held the door shut because somebody told me they didn't need my permission to enter a building. She said, my male best friend opens doors for me, waits for me to get inside before driving off, walks at the roadside, etc. He fixes what other guys have broke. To which my response was, a lot of men are trying to do this, fix what other guys have broke. I'm so over this cold. Why is it on us to fix you? If you had a horrible relationship because you chose a shitty man or you allowed situations to evolve to the point where they got violent or whatever the case may be, you have accountability in that. When the relationship is over, it's on you to fix your bullshit. If you are having trauma, if you're having resentment, if you're having anything from a past relationship and you get into a new relationship, it is not our duty to fix you. Just like it's not my duty to make every man on the planet respect women.
Right.
I want to put it out there to be the best version of me and hope that I am able to inspire others to be just as good. And you are trying to inspire women to take accountability and work on themselves so that they can fix themselves and it's not on someone else to do it. The amount of men that I know that are in a relationship who are dealing with past trauma from other men treating women horribly is high.
Yeah.
The amount of women that I know who are in relationships with men who are pieces of shit is high because people don't respect each other anymore.
Right.
It's real easy to have a normal conversation, diffuse things, not scream and yell, not break things, not punch holes in the wall, not rip cabinets off the doors, not break vacuums, because these are all things that we've heard, and have a simple conversation. Why do you feel as a man or a woman that screaming at your partner is going to somehow get your point across? The point is going to be the same point that you're making if you're talking calmly or yelling at the top of your lungs. The only difference is you are treating your partner with respect while you're making that point. So for all of you who get gangster and want to scream and yell and poke your chest out and huff and puff and act like you're a badass and scream and yell at your partner, what is that doing for you in getting your point across?
I just view you as a bitch if you do that.
Right. Do you think that that's somehow going to make them understand better? All it's going to do is make them defensive in some cases. In some cases, it's going to make them shut down. They're going to disassociate. They're not going to listen to what's being said. And you're going to scream and yell and repeat yourself over and over and over again, and nothing's going to get resolved.
Yeah, there's going to be no retention. If you are constantly complaining that your spouse doesn't remember anything you say, reevaluate the way that you're saying it.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you can tell me once in a calm way, hey, you do this when you get angry. I don't like it when you do that. I will retain that far better than every time it happens, you yell at me about it. Because I'm not going to remember. I'm too emotional. You're yelling at me. I'm not going to want to hear what you're saying to me when you're yelling at me. It's unbelievable. People who get into relationships to have somebody else fix them, you're never going to get fixed.
Right.
And then you're going to be in your 60s
blaming everyone else.
Blaming everybody else, wondering why you were never happy in your life. Nobody's going to be able to fix you. Mm-hmm. There are times where like I'm really going through it emotionally on like days, and I want to come to you and have you tell me I'm okay, but you telling me I'm okay is not going to make me okay.
Right.
Hearing you say it might make me feel better, but that's not going to change anything that I'm feeling on the inside, because I'm the only one who can regulate me. People need to learn that.
Yeah. Makes sense. It blows my mind that people don't understand these things, because it is common sense. No one wants to be yelled at.
Right.
Period. Mm-hmm. Even when you're a kid, you don't want to be yelled at by your parents. Like, you don't want people screaming and raising their voices. Even if you don't understand that it's disrespectful, it makes you feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. So even as a kid, when you don't understand why you feel the way that you feel, you just know that you feel emotion because somebody's doing what they're doing. It's still valid.
Right.
I don't get it. And I understand that as intimacy dies in relationships, that escalates because people no longer think about their partner because the intimacy is gone. So now they're being unbridled is probably not the right term to use, but they're being more aggressive because they have less to worry about. The respect is gone. The intimacy is gone. So at this point, why can't I just say whatever I want?
Right.
Why would you ever let it get to that point? I just don't understand it.
So I know you want to get into other things. We don't have to talk about it here. We can do a separate video or whatever, but I want to talk about how we handled leaving Key West early, because that would have been a massive argument.
We should talk about that now, because we got into Key West in this thing so that people understand. There's no reason for them to have to go back and try to find this video to understand that conversation.
Okay. So you were completely over the Keys before we left.
I was ready to have a meltdown.
Yeah. You were not having a good time. Mm-hmm. And you looked at me that night that we got there and you said, would you be upset if we left early tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I said, no.
We were there for less than 3 hours.
Yeah. And I was disappointed. Like I was really looking forward to going to the Keys and going to the beach and taking pictures, and the things that were agitating you about the trip were not agitating me.
Right.
Was it different than I expected? Yeah. That kind of sucked, but I'm the kind of person who will try to make, like, we're here already.
Right.
Let's make the best out of it. You were ready to go, and I respected that. If I did not want to be at a place and I was emotionally just over it, I would hope that you'd be willing to just leave and not argue with me.
Right.
So I was like,
it makes sense.
Right. So I was like, okay, yeah, like, let's leave in the morning. We got up. You were kind of unsure when we went to bed. There was a possibility in my mind that you were going to change your mind. I did not get my hopes up about it because I saw how upset you were, and I was like, okay, in the morning we're probably leaving. That's where my mind went, instead of being like, well, he said maybe.
Right.
I'm going to get my hopes up, and like, if he changes his mind again, I'm going to be pissed.
The thing that changed me from maybe to definitively was the screaming and the fighting in the hallway all night long, and like the people stomping upstairs. And honestly, it was women that were in there fighting in the hallway. If I opened the door, stepped out, and started screaming and adding to that, it would have made it even worse.
Right.
It wouldn't have resolved anything. I could have called management down on, hit the front desk button and be like, you want to get these crazy women off my floor? What would that have done? There would have been more people in the hallway screaming. They would have gotten gangster with the people that were there. There would have been a whole lot of back and forth. And at that point, I definitely went back to sleep.
Yeah.
But all of the drunk nonsense that happened all night long was the final straw for me, and the sink not working. And when we left, I felt guilty. Like, I felt super bad about it. And we talked about it in the car a lot. I was like, are you sure you're okay with this? And you were like, well, yeah, I'm disappointed. I didn't want to leave. I was looking forward to this. But if I was not wanting to be somewhere, I would expect you to ride or die with me.
I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit.
I don't care.
You got a little defensive when I said that I was disappointed.
I did. I was already feeling bad about it.
So I said I was disappointed, and you did that thing you do when you're clearly defending yourself. And in that moment, I could have gotten upset.
Right.
But I didn't. I said I was disappointed. I'm not upset. Those are different emotions. You said you didn't want to be here. If I didn't want to be somewhere, I would hope that you would be willing to leave as well. And that was the conversation.
Right.
And we stopped at a gas station. You got me a scratch off. I was super excited about it. And you were like, I'm sorry. And I was like, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But because I handled it the way that I handled it, you wanted to remedy it.
Right.
I can guarantee if I was like, I can't believe that you would do this. We drove 5 hours to get here. What do you mean you want to leave? Suck it up. We're here. I want to be here. This makes me happy.
It would have ruined our entire trip anyways.
Right.
Because I would have been miserable while you were trying to have fun.
Right. And I even said that. I was like, it is completely pointless for me to make you stay somewhere where you're going to be miserable just so I have a good time.
Right.
No. If you're not happy, I'm not going to be happy. I want to have a good time with you having a good time. I'm not willing to sacrifice your emotion so I can have a good time. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And you look like you're going to say something.
Well, because past experiences have not played out that way. This falls back into what I said earlier, in that our dynamic is unlike anything that I've ever had, because that would have started a fucking war in my past. But like you also said, I was trying to remedy the situation because I felt super guilty about the fact that I was leaving. And I know that part of it was my mental illness, and part of it was because of what was going on. Like I didn't want to be there.
Right. It was a lot.
But we had a dope ass day yesterday.
We did.
We spent more time on the ride home in the car than we did on the ride out there. And we got to explore and took more pictures. And I think that we actually used our cameras more yesterday than we would have used the entire time that we were in the Keys, because we got to go from place to place to place to place to place.
Right.
So we still got to take pictures and experience that. We came home, we got to, relax and watch a movie, and we were going to try to podcast. It didn't work.
Yeah.
But we had a very different experience at home than what we would have had we stayed in the Keys. And I would have had another day of exhaustion because I wouldn't have slept last night. Like we really made the best out of us leaving.
Right.
But that entire scenario of me knowing that we were leaving and it was my fault ate at me hard. I felt super bad about that when we left, because inside my head, like, you were mad at me even though you weren't. You were just disappointed in the fact that we were leaving. That's not what I heard when I'm disappointed. That's not, and I heard you're disappointed in me, not in the fact that we're leaving. And then when we had the discussion, that changed.
I want to clarify. So I just said I'm disappointed.
Right.
Your interpretation of me saying I'm disappointed was, I'm disappointed in you. This is all your fault. I can't believe you would do this.
Yep.
That's where the clarification comes in. If you feel that way, ask.
Right.
Say, are you disappointed at me? And then they'll go in depth. I should have worded it, I'm just disappointed we're leaving, but I didn't. I just said I'm disappointed.
Right.
Because I didn't think that you would take that as I'm upset with you, because I wasn't upset with you.
Right. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's what they hear.
Right. And you said we would have had a totally different time if we stayed in the Keys because you were upset. We could have also had a totally different situation if I reacted like a bitch.
Right.
You would not have gone out of your way for anything to make me feel better.
No, we'd have came straight home.
Yeah. But instead, we stopped, you got me something. And then you were like, let's go through the loop.
Yeah.
The scenic loop.
Which is a 22-mile drive at 5 miles an hour. So
it took 3 hours to drive through that loop.
Yeah.
And you did all that while having to go to the restroom, but you held it. To make me feel better about us leaving the Keys.
That's funny.
You sacrificed that, made yourself a little bit more miserable just to make me feel better.
Well, yeah, I wanted you to have a good time. The whole point of it was to us get away from all of this and to just decompress. We know Keys ain't going to happen. St. Augustine might. Jupiter Beach could happen whenever. That hotel was perfect. It was quiet. We slept good. Like that was a good trip. We could do that a lot. And it's only 3 hours instead of 5. So like it's even better, there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be things that are going to happen that are going to put you in a bad spot, that are going to put me in a bad spot. And we're going to have to try to figure out how to navigate those things, because we both have our mental issues.
Right.
But it is a growing pain. And as we learn these things, now that if I ever am like, hey, let's go to Bourbon Street, you'd be like, whoa, slow down, Cheeto. Like,
think about the Keys.
Yeah. But that's a thing that we now know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
the last thing I'm going to say, and then we can move on, is the way that I handled that whole situation. In The Surrendered Wife, she was talking about like grace and handling things with grace. I handled that whole situation with grace. I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
Because in that moment when you said, would you be upset if we left tomorrow? I had one or two options. And I chose the option with grace. And because I took that step to be the bigger person, you went out of your way to do everything you could to make me happy.
Right. And do you know why that is? Because she talks about that in the book too.
You say it.
Men want their women to be happy. And when we do things that make our women happy, we're going to do that over and over and over again.
Because it makes you feel like a provider.
That's right. It makes us feel like we are the man. So in the event that I do something, you're like, babe, I really appreciate it when you do that. Or you look really hot when you do that. I love when you do that. You better believe the next time that opportunity comes up for you to tell me that again, I'm going to do that shit.
Yeah.
That's normal men behavior. And there are documented cases over and over and over again with the women who are part of her coaching groups. that have experienced that exact thing.
I want to give an example.
Okay.
But it involves your butt. Can I say it?
I don't know. Have at it. I'll cut it out if I have to.
So I remember the first time you ever did something silly with me.
Please don't do that.
No.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay.
They don't need to hear about my butt jiggling.
How about you just showing me your butt?
You can go with that.
Okay. So you show me your butt. That's something you never used to do. Mm-mm. The first time you did it, I lost my mind. The last time you did it, I still lost my mind. Because you know it makes me happy and I genuinely enjoy it when you do it. You do something that's out of your comfort zone that you've never done with somebody else because it makes me happy.
So a lot of that comes down to knowing that I'm not going to be judged.
Yeah.
So this falls under the category. We may not even make it to that email. We're an hour in. So when we made that TikTok where the two of us made it together and we talked about past traumas and the way that it's thrown back in men's faces, and that's why men are not vulnerable. And it's why we are uncomfortable divulging our personal shit to our new partners.
Right.
A lot of people are like, I can't believe you're going to punish your wife by not telling her your past and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not punishing. That'll come when it's ready. It takes time. You know what I mean? But knowing that I'm not going to be judged when I do stupid shit or if I sing or I dance or whatever the case may be, and you laugh and you think it's cute and we're playful with it. And I know that I'm not being pressured. I'm not being nagged. I'm not being punished. I'm not having it thrown in my face. There's just pure enjoyment. And when it doesn't happen, it's not pure disgust. It's okay, whatever. Makes me okay with the fact that I'm going to do these things.
Right.
Because I know that I'm not going to lose in either scenario. If I decide I don't want to be goofy in the moment, you're not going to be disappointed. And in the event that I do decide to do something really off the wall goofy, or I say some stupid dad joke, or I make up some stupid asinine thing to say and you laugh about it, there's no judgment there. You're never like, that was the dumbest shit I've ever heard you say. Like there's never a negative connotation to any of it. It's always a positive response.
I always tell you I love your mind when you say things.
Yeah. All right, we got to get to this email.
Okay.
You got your little iPad out over there.
Yeah.
Guys, we get a lot of emails. We posted on TikTok asking for content. We need to email so that we can continue to make the podcast. And we got an email from somebody that is a sex therapist.
Yes.
That is, I was not.
We just keep getting more emails.
I thought this was actually hers. The one that just popped up is not. I was like, oh shit, she sent us a third one.
All right. So she said, hey there, I am a sex therapist and your podcast was sent to me on TikTok. And to be totally honest, I think this person sent me your guys' podcast in hopes that I would make a post tearing it down and totally disagreeing with you guys.
When I read that initial sentence, the first sentence of that, I'm like, oh, she's about to rip us apart. And then I read the next part of the sentence. I'm like, oh, thank God.
I have to say they were totally wrong. In all of my years working with couples, both focused on sex or just relationships, I rarely come across couples that are so supportive and respectful. I really loved hearing your points of view and talks on issues of both traditional gender roles within the home and the dynamics of your relationship. While there are areas I have differing opinions, your approach and attitude in holding strong to your beliefs is a breath of fresh air. I also love to see you all take in stride the astounding amount of people that hate on you guys or having an adverse opinion about the two of you. I admire your ability to have conversations respectfully with others whom have differing opinions without tearing the others down. Not that you need my approval in any way, but I have to say I hope you all keep up the great work and continue to express and educate others on your beliefs in such an open, honest, direct, and respectful manner. You guys really are wonderful to listen to.
Okay, so before going on to the second email, because she sent us another one that we should read. I love that she acknowledges the fact that we don't just shit on people.
Right.
I do shit on people, but I do it in a way that's mainly sarcastic.
Yeah.
Because as a whole, I dislike humanity. I believe that there's a lot of room for us to grow as people, and most people don't care enough to do the work to grow.
Right.
And that's where my frustration comes in. So when I am shitty or sarcastic to people, it's because in my mind, they're an idiot. And I have a hard time just letting that go when people are being dumb. But when people are shitting on us and calling us names and being just trolls,
degrading,
I don't care about that. I've heard all that before. What are you going to say is going to really hurt my feelings?
Right. Like, I look like this. You think you can call me something that's really going to get to me?
Right.
Come on.
Yep.
So she sent a second email. We asked if we could read it.
Yep.
And we said that it was dope reading this. Like, that's crazy. This will be like the third therapist who has reached out to us and said, you guys are like dope.
Yep.
So she said, I'm so glad. You are most welcome. and I don't mind at all. Please feel free to read it whenever you would like. Right now, I think it's great because we asked for feedback. What can we change? What can we do better? She said, I love your guys' feedback from each other. I review a lot of podcasts and relationship ideal/dynamics. And I think you guys really came out of the gate strong and confident, and that's pretty hard to find.
So pause, because this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Episode 7. We are less than 2 months into this. And when you watch episode 1 and episode 7, they are very different podcasts. We have hit our stride super fast.
Yeah.
And if we're coming out of the gate strong like this, how do you think episode 70 is going to sound?
I'm so excited.
Dude, I love it.
In the future, if you ever would consider maybe having guests with similar views or even different ones where you can have an external dynamic, I think that would maybe give people insight into how willing you guys are to talk one-on-one with others or even have constructive opposing conversation. I would love that. I would love to have opposing conversation, as long as with someone who is emotionally mature, who will not degrade me because my opinion differs,
right,
and will not try to shit on me when I say something logical and you can't counter me with that. Don't start, oh, well, you're being hostile.
Right.
No.
So ironically enough, all of my closest friends don't agree with most of the things that I say. Like they're, even in politics, like, because I'm hardcore libertarian that leans conservative on financial stuff.
Right.
I have friends that are radical left and I have friends that are radical right.
Right.
And I can talk to both of them and have civil conversations because the two of us respect each other, and I'm not going to get hurtful or harmful or be shitty to them. Like, we just have conversations. If I could get people on the podcast that is going to have a conversation, not get defensive, not start name calling, and are willing to listen to each other when we speak, I would love to have those conversations.
I also, I can't deal with the people who, if I ask you a question specifically geared towards gender, I don't want you bringing in disabilities.
Right.
I don't want you bringing in trans. I don't want you bringing in the fact that you're 54 and somebody's 23. We are talking about gender.
Right.
Male versus female. If you feel like you need to bring an external thing into your argument to make your point land better or make more sense, your point doesn't have structure.
Right.
I can't converse with people like that. It's like a wall of like willingly to not understand. I can't handle it.
Yeah, I get that.
That will infuriate me, and I will not be able to carry on the conversation because I am not going to sit here and essentially argue. It's not even a debate at that point.
Right.
It's an argument with somebody who is taking the time to make sure to not understand me.
Yeah, there's no point in that.
No, thank you. One of the things that really drew me in was how receptive I was to your alternative view, as well as similar views, because you guys maintained such confidence, but also this willingness to understand. I never felt like you guys were pushing any agenda or forcing your viewpoint down my throat. It was very fluid and constructive for sure. Thank you for even be willing to have this conversation. Again, I think this really speaks to your guys' characters. It's really wonderful. Too often you see podcasts or content creators that don't really care about reviews or opinions on their content.
So I want to point out the name of our podcast is To Be Better.
Right.
Because that's the goal.
Yeah.
We want to help people be better, and in turn, we are growing. There is so much happening in these podcasts, and there are emails that we get that after we discuss them, we get off the podcast and be like, okay, we need to remember this because these are things that may help us in the future. Or we'll have an epiphany and we'll talk about it. Or we'll even have a discussion on air about motorcycles where we're legitimately having a conversation and people are like, I can't believe they just resolved that so easily, and they're laughing about it afterwards. Like,
That's considered an argument for us. That would be our definition of an argument.
Yep. Elevated conversation.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't want to push anything on anyone. I want to create a thought that people will digest and form their own opinion on. You don't have to do what we do. I don't want my lifestyle forced on anyone. I want to provide you with the things that are working for me, and if you get one thing out of 100 that works for you, I've improved your life.
Yeah.
It may take me 30 episodes of a podcast for you to find that one thing, but damn it, you found it. Like, let's just improve now. You've got that one tool. Go be better. Tell other people about that one tool and make them better. We're going to grow together. That's the whole point in all this.
Yeah.
I don't judge people. There are things that I dislike about the human race, and there's things that I dislike about society and politics and all of that. And that's normal. People are going to have those disagreements and not like things. How you respond or how you react or choose to respond to those things is what's going to dictate the outcome of the conversation you're having. So, yep, that email was super dope.
Yeah.
It made me very excited to get that email. And the fact that she's like, yeah, have at it. That's cool. I think that AJ can get this working, that we can take calls. I have that dude on TikTok, Blake Speaks Fire or something like that. He's a Christian content creator that I would really like to interview because I know he died of a drug overdose. Like, he was dead. They pronounced him dead.
Oh
and
my
he
gosh.
was brought back and he's saved, and he talks about his experience. And I would like to have that conversation on the podcast.
That would be crazy.
And he said that when our podcast takes off, he would absolutely like to have that conversation. He followed me back. So in the event that I'm ready to get him on, I can email him and be like, hey man, I can get you on. I would like to have that. There are other people that I would like to get on. I would like to talk to her because there's things that I'm going to say and she'll be like, wait a minute, think about this. And that think about this, instead of going, you're wrong, is going to change the way that we're going to have a conversation.
Right.
So that would be super exciting. And the three of us may end up with very different views by the time the podcast is over. And then there are other people that I want to interview solely for my ego, I guess, or to be like, haha, I did it. Because I would love to interview Bunny and Jelly.
Oh, yeah.
I know that that'll never happen. I think that in the event that we got Bunny, we would probably have to pay her for her time, like Snoop Dogg gets paid for everything he does. I think that we would have to come out of pocket a lot of money to get her to be on the podcast. And I could be wrong. It may be one of those things that we get big enough and she recognizes that she could get growth from that or value and then decided to do that. But right now we have 2,600 subscribers. Who the hell am I to be like, hey, come on my podcast? Like, so be like, here's my fee. You know what I mean? So like in that scenario, when I know that we're at 100,000 or 200,000 or a million, those conversations might be different. Then I would feel more comfortable reaching out to these people who have a following like that and be like, hey, I'm not a scrub. I would like to interview you. I think you're amazing, whatever.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are on that list that I would like to sit down and talk to, but all things in time, I guess. Would you like to eat our lunch now? Because it's been sitting for a hot minute. Dope. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, I'm sure that this is not going to be an hour and 10 minutes after I cut out all the getting up and coughing and all the nonsense, but do you want to do the thing?
Like, subscribe if you haven't. And if you gained information from this, I'd highly recommend checking out our Patreon. There are videos on Patreon that are not released elsewhere. We also do live streams there. We've done 2 so far. So far, they've been pretty fun.
Yeah. And it's not content. It's literally just us hanging out with you guys, having conversations about whatever we want to talk about. We've talked about movies. We've talked about guns. We've talked about hunting. We've talked about maggots in people's flesh. We've talked about all kinds of wild shit on that podcast because people start the conversations and we just run with it, or on those live streams.
And we do get more personal on Patreon, more in depth in stories and personal experiences. And
because it's not just going out to the world, it's going out to people who actually genuinely want to be a part of what we're doing. The only other thing that you can do that would help us grow besides going to Patreon would be sharing our content. If you find value at all, share it. Somebody told me last night that one of our podcasts were shared in an infidelity group.
Yeah.
And that's content that's going to go into episode 8 because I want to talk about that entire scenario then.
Okay.
We are just doing the damn thing.
I love it.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye, guys.